Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, we're going to be reviewing the Bonzai. But don't worry, we're not turning into a gardening channel or anything. Can't stand trimming bushes. Anyway, let's crack it open and see what you get for your money. So a massive thank you to FuryRC for sending this over for review. Let's open the box and see what you get for your money. Now, I don't know much about Bonzai, to be fair. They don't seem to have that many kits. They seem to have this and another buggy. The buggy seems to have come out first, and then this has come out recently. So what do you get in the box? Well, you get a standard manual. You get some LED lights that you can fit onto the front bumper, and the standard USB charger. Nothing super special there. Then we have the transmitter. Pretty standard stuff, looks very familiar to what you see from, say, WL Toys. Does have foam around the steering, which I think is definitely a step up from the Ultra Basic. Feels okay, I think it'll get the job done. I wouldn't say it's amazing plastic, and the branding seems to have been just sort of stuck on a little bit. Feels a little bit naff, but it will get the job done. Then we have the car itself. Oh, let's get it out. There we go. Oh, that wasn't too difficult. Let's just get rid of the boxes. So on first impressions, it actually looks reasonably good. It's a good looking buggy. I do like this kind of camo colours. You can get 4 colours: orange, yellow and blue and something else. I can't remember. I'll put a picture up here of what they are. But first impressions, it's actually quite good looking. Now, this is called the Bonzai RC Wildlands. Now, it's a bit of a weird one, as I'm getting mixed messages on, is it a 1/10 or is it a 1/12? And I think it's probably somewhere in between, slightly leaning towards the 1/10. So if I put it up against the 1/10, for instance, this is a buggy, obviously not a basher buggy. You can see wheelbase wise, it's almost the same as a 1/10. So, hey, you'll have to make your own mind up, but the companies seem to be mixed up on what size it actually is. So I've got some notes here. You're currently looking at $200 or £149.41-ish in the UK currently. I'll put some exchange rates below. In the specs, it says it does 48 kilometers an hour or 29 miles per hour. Well, I weighed it and it's coming in at 1.9 kilos. So whether it'll actually do that with a 550 motor, I don't think that's too crazy an amount, but I think it'll probably underperform by a few miles per hour. But we'll take it out in a bit and find out. Now, you get 2 LEDs that connect to the combo ESC and receiver, and you can connect them to the front bumper if you want to have some lights. Why they're not fitted by default, I don't know. I guess it's something you can just do yourself. Personal choice, I suppose. As for the tyres, they feel okay. I'd say they're kind of mid-soft. They're not super soft and they're not rock hard. There's nothing inside, which is a bit of a shame. It would be nice to see some kind of foam inside, but they do seem to be fixed to the actual rims themselves, so that's a good thing. So I think they'll perform reasonably well. On first impressions, the body looks pretty good. So let's get the body off and have a look inside. So the first thing is the battery. Now, it comes with an 1800 Deans connected LiPo battery, and it's a little bit on the small side, being that this car is a 112/110 or somewhere in between, and weighing 1.9 kilos. That is quite a lot of weight, and it's pushing a 550 motor. So is it going to give you a decent slice of runtime, or are you going to be constantly changing the batteries? Well, we'll find out when we take it out. I'll time it. Now, instantly I see a limiting factor with this buggy, and that is the battery size that you get to play with. That's all you have. There's no way to fit a larger battery into this car. The servo sits directly in front of it, so you're very limited to space. So if it turns out to be that you don't get a great runtime out of these batteries, you're kind of stuffed just having to buy 2 or 3 and then constantly changing them. Is that a deal breaker? No, but I think they kind of missed a bit of a touch here, that you should have a bigger battery tray, but we won't know for sure until we see what the real world run times are. Next is the servo. It looks like a full-size servo. Now apparently it's a 3.5 kg servo, which is not too bad. I mean, the tires are getting a bit bigger, so you do need a little bit more oomph. I couldn't find out if it's metal gears or anything like that, didn't really have that information. But being that it sits directly in front of the battery, it's taking up all the space where a longer battery would go. So that's a bit disappointing. And it's a 5-wire servo, so if the servo packs up, you have to swap it for a like for like. Now I've just found out that the combo receiver and ESC has a 3-pin connector, so you can actually plug in a standard servo. Even though it has the servo in it by default and it's working, I can actually plug another servo in. So if I want to swap out the servo, you can do. So at least that's something. Now you're getting a 50 amp receiver and ESC combo, which, hey, it will do the job, that's for sure, pushing a 550 motor. But again, they're not very grown-up electronics, they're very proprietary, and apart from the motor, you're going to be swapping out everything altogether. Now, one thing that is a little bit strange is they've actually given you a receiver box at the front here. So whether we're going to see a brushless version of this and a brushless ESC and separate receiver, probably. So turning our attentions to the chassis, it is very strong, it feels very solid. Basically you've got a tub in the middle and you're just bolting the front and rear diff straight to the actual main housing, making it very strong. Now when you look at the front uprights, they look very familiar, like something else, and that is definitely a good design, making them nice and strong. And the body mounts themselves are very flexible, which is good because once you roll over, you want some give in the body mounts. And the body mounts are kind of separate from the diff housing and the uprights. So if you do smash the body quite hard, I think you probably just end up bending these body mounts more than putting all that energy into the actual diff housing and the upright mounts. Bumpers, front and rear, very soft at the top, but very rigid lower down. Now I think a lot of the energy is going to go into the truck. Bit concerned that the front might be a bit of an issue, as this should flex, but it's very, very strong. So the energy is going to go straight through into this section here. The rear is even worse. The whole spoiler on the back feels very tough. One thing that's really nice to see is it is hex screws throughout, so that is nice when it comes to dismantling and putting it back together again. Now one thing I saw that I wasn't overly keen on is the amount of slop in the rear wheels. It seems to be coming from the inner bearings on the uprights. I mean, it's not a precision bit of kit, it's supposed to be a bit of bashing, but that is quite a lot of play. Now it's got universal drive shafts on the front and dog bones on the rear. It does have very wide arms, especially if it's supposed to be a 1/12. So it's leaving itself a little bit vulnerable, having such wide tyres that you get so much leverage if you hit something. But honestly, until we take it out and bash it hard, we won't know. Now it comes with bearings all round, but that's pretty standard these days. Right, let's open up the diffs and see what you get. The car also comes with bearings throughout, but being at this price point, that is standard now, unless you're Tamiya. But for everybody else, that seems to be a norm. Right, what's next? Well, I'm going to open up one of the diffs. Not sure if I'll do the front or the rear, probably the rear. For two reasons. One, to see how well it's put together inside, greased up and oiled, but also it gives me a bit of a feel of the quality of the kit as you dismantle it and reassemble it. Right, let's crack on. So after removing the rear of the car and dismantling the diff, what can I tell you? Well, it's more positive than I thought. Let's look at the hardware. I have to say they have put quite a bit of money into their bolts and hardware, and I have to say it looks really good. Some of the best hardware I've seen on a buggy for this price point, so that's fantastic to see. Also, the plastics, the quality of plastics used in this kit is above average. I'm really impressed with it. Now, until we take it out and give it a good bash, we honestly don't know. We want to see some flexibility so it can help dissipate some of the energy, and I'm a little bit concerned they're a bit rigid, but hey, we'll find out. From a driveline point of view, I think they've done a great job. The diffs themselves and the spur gear all look really good. I'm a bit concerned that the diffs are a little bit small for what's basically a 1/10 basher, but it all comes down to the quality of the metals used in the diff. From a grease and oil point of view, no issues at all. It's fine. So what we're going to do now is put it all back together again, and then the proof is in the pudding. So we're going to take it out for a bash and see how it holds up.
2 hours later.
The truck is all back together again, so all we got to do now is charge up the weeny little battery and take it for a blast and see how it performs. I'm still a bit on the fence, as there is some things I really like and some things I'm not really that sold on, but I can forgive that if it drives as well as I hope. So let's take it out and see how we get on. So on a wet and cold day, the first thing we're going to do is run a speed test. Now, this truck says 48 kilometers an hour, which is 29.8 miles per hour. So that's what we're going to try and do. Don't think so, but hey, we'll find out. So that's 20 miles an hour, so not so great. I'll do one more speed run and we'll try again, see if I can get a little bit more out of it. Unfortunately, that's only 20 miles an hour, and it said that it was going to be 29, so it's miles off where it should be. Also, one thing I've noticed since I'm trying to do speed runs, it's a little bit vague and it wanders from left to right, so I don't know if that's because of the servo or if it's because of the transmitter side of it, but it does feel a little bit vague. Right, let's take it for a bash and see how it handles that. Unfortunately, rain stopped play, so I never got a chance to take it to the skate park. I will do it at a later date and then bring it back on the channel. Now, I've looked at it and I've put good points and bad points. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with the good points first and then look at the bad points afterwards. Good points. First thing, it's a good looking truck. I actually think they made it pretty good looking. I like the colors, I like the body, I like the spoiler and the stance. It's very wide, doesn't roll over very easily, so I like that aspect, but it looks the part. Second thing, the plastics. Now, I kind of have to hold this one back a little bit. They feel premium and they look premium, but until I take it to the skate park and really lean on it and see how the plastics hold up to that kind of abuse, I'll just have to hold off on that one, but they definitely feel and look above average for this price point. Also, the hardware that's used, the hex bolts, very good quality, definitely above the standard that you see in this price point. So that is a big, strong plus for this truck. Another aspect, there is some real nice design aspects in this truck that I think they may have borrowed from other places. One of them is the way that the driveline runs underneath here. It's very separate, so no water and things can get in. Your pinion and spur gear all live in here, so access for dirt and grime and things like that are limited, so that I like. Also, the towers for the top of the suspensions, very strong, very squat, so I don't think you're going to have any problems with the towers breaking or anything like that. So those design cues that were borrowed from maybe bigger trucks was definitely a way to go. So now let's look at the bad list, and unfortunately it's a little bit longer than the good, kicking off with the first thing that's atrocious, the manual. It's just a load of pieces of paper clipped together. Now this may be an early version of it, and a proper manual will be coming soon. The main issue that I had is that the transmitter that's actually in this manual is not the transmitter that you got with the car. So this maybe it's an early version that I've been sent and it will be changed. I honestly don't know. But it has no way to change the channel, to reverse channels. And when I fired this car up for the first time, steering, when I turned left, it went right, vice versa. So I needed to change channel 1 to be reversed. There is no way to do it on this transmitter that you can see whatsoever, and there's nothing in the manual. So how did I fix it? Well, I just messed around. There was a button here that I have no idea what it does, and then you've got the binding button. I rebound it, didn't make any difference. Purely by chance, I decided to hold down the bind button and that button there, hold it down, turn it on, and just wait. And I waited until the LED changed color, and that seemed to fix it. So it was pure guesswork. So if you get one of these and it's reversed out of the box, the steering is reversed out of the box, which it shouldn't be, so they should test it. That's what you have to do. I even thought maybe there were some hidden switches underneath here as there was depression, so I had a quick look. So no, so that was a bit disappointing, especially as the manual has nothing on this transmitter at all. So battery life, unfortunately, yes, the battery is too small for the size of this truck. And yeah, you can burn through the battery pretty quick, and I timed it and I got 10 minutes 32. Now obviously that's just a guide depending on how you drive, but assume you're not going to get more than 12 minutes of runtime, so you will need to get multiple batteries, and you'll be changing your batteries every 12.5 minutes, which can be a bit disappointing. Unfortunately, there is no way to put a bigger battery in this, so you're kind of stuck with that. You can't just get a longer, more powerful LiPo battery, as it just won't fit without a lot of modifications. Talking about speed, well, again, another disappointing one, as on the box it says 29 mile an hour, which is 48 kilometers an hour. Yeah, it wasn't even close. It was basically 20 mile an hour dead, and however much I tried to improve on it, I couldn't. So it was well and truly off what the box says it should do. Now, on the rough stuff, it was fine, but the minute you want to stretch its legs on any kind of tarmac or anything, you started to run out of steam. Now, I don't think it needs masses more power, but I just feel like if you're advertising it at that speed, you should be delivering it. Now, I think if you gave this to a youngster to drive, I don't think he or she would be disappointed with the speed of it. But if you are looking to take this bashing and you're a little bit older, I think you're going to be a bit annoyed that it's a little bit slow. Another big concern I have is parts. Now, I'm guessing this is quite a new buggy, so there isn't that many parts available. Even if you go to the actual manufacturer's website, there is no real parts listed on their website yet. In the manual, they do have a few part numbers, so I'm pretty sure you could email them and say, I need to get part BZ110029, and then probably they will send it to you. But readily available from all the online RC sellers, no. So I think it's going to take a bit of time to filter down. Now, there is other cars by this manufacturer, and there was more parts available if you buy direct, and there was some upgrade parts. So I think this is more of a timing problem, that it's very new and these parts will come. But if you're an early adopter of one of these and you prang it, I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to get parts quickly. So in conclusion, I probably would give this one a miss, but I'm not going to write off Bonzai at all. I just think that they're just starting out, so a few mistakes are going to creep in, but in time, I think they're going to dial it out and we should see some decent products for them. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.